What's up, party people? Strobe Kintarna here with you with another video, and I know it's a lot late, but better late than never, right?
Move this man!
DNF Duel has been out for about 6 months, and unfortunately, other than a few patch updates and a video back in early October from DNF Duel production director Kodani Ryosuke, there has been virtually no news of the future of the game. For those not aware, in the modern age of fighting games, this is very unusual for a game that is brand new to not have any news of future DLC or anything going forward. So, what could this mean? Unfortunately, it is possible that the lifespan of support to DNF Duel might be very, very short-lived. Meaning that what we see is what we will likely have with no updates to the game. This is also very bad because the player base has dropped significantly since the release. While playing DNF Duel on PC recently, I had to wait a very long time in between matches, and when I did get them, I ended up playing the same people over and over and over again. Another thing too is that the range between ranks was very, very far apart, and this usually happens when matchmaking can't find a good opponent for you that is within your range, so it expands the range, meaning that there's less people playing. So, what does that mean? Well, it might mean that the game might be dead. Now, despite DNF Duel receiving review scores of an 8 out of 10 from such game critics like GameSpot and IGN, and an 85 out of 100 from PC Gamer, also coupled with the fact that DNF Duel is co-starring in ARC's World Tour, it seems like there might not be much more coming to the game. DNF Duel is being treated much more like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, where Capcom really didn't do too much with the game after launch and put more attention into its flagship fighting game Street Fighter V. Arc System Work is treating Guilty Gear Strive as its flagship fighting game in this example. Despite the dismal future of DNF Duel right now, I thought it'd be fun to go through the character archetypes from the game DFO and give you my perspective of the types of DLC characters I thought at one point in time could be coming to the game DNF Duel. Disclaimer: I've heard no rumors or any news that there will or won't be any further support to the game in the way of DLC. This is more of a fun list to see what the possibilities are based on the character list from the DFO's website, which I have posted in the link description below. With that said, there are a total of 16 classes in DFO and 60 advancement types among those. As of now, DNF Duel has utilized only 15 of the 60 advancement types. After going through the remaining unused advancements and removing duplicates from some of the male and female classes, there are a total of 39 unused advancement types to pick from. Therefore, in this video, we're going to take a look at the remaining classes and state, based on the character's visual design and their gameplay from the character's DFO trailer, my opinion on which ones I feel would be a good fit added as DLC. And now,
It's time to do.
the 39 advancement types fall into one of 16 classes to include Slayers, male and female, Fighter, male and female, Gunner, male and female, Mage, male and female, Priest, male and female, Thieves and Knights, which fall into female classes, Demonic Lancer and Agents, which are male, and Dark Knight and Creator, which are unique classes that don't have any further advancement subclasses. Currently in DNF Duel, characters in the game come from the following: 2 from the Slayer class, both male, 2 Fighters, 2 Gunners, 2 Mages, 2 Priests, 1 Thief, 1 Knight, 1 Demonic Lancer, and 2 Agents. That means there are no representation for female Slayers, Dark Knights, or Creators. I will now present the classes of characters and provide my score of high, medium, low, or none based on how I see that character being a good addition to the game. If the character is one I personally want to see added, I will give it the score of super high. If there is ever a DLC season, I foresee 4 characters maximum being added. Again, there is no news of any additional content based off of recent news, and probably will never be any additional characters added to the game. With that said, hold on to your butts, let's get started. Starting with the Slayer class, we have 8 advancement subcategory types. The first one we'll cover is the Blade Master, and based on his design and gameplay from the DFO trailer, I feel that he is tied for the highest male Slayer to be added in the game at a medium chance, in my opinion. But because there are already 2 male Slayers in the game, overall, I think there's a very low chance that actually any of the male Slayers get added. Next, we have the Soulbender. Now, the Soulbender really didn't do too much to blow me away, and I would say that there are 2 other Slayer advancement male types that I would rather put in ahead of Soulbender. Being very generic, my rating for this archetype is low. Next, we have the Asura. Now, Asura has a really cool look and a gameplay to match, but because there are already 2 male Slayer class advancements already on the roster, I can't really give Asura much more than a medium rating, similar to how I stated with the Blade Master. Let's move on to the female Slayer types, and I think at least one of these next 5 would likely be added if another Slayer class is included. First up is the Swordmaster. Now, Swordmaster has the lowest of my rankings with a medium chance. This character swings a large sword around but doesn't do too much else, and I think she plays too much like the Inquisitor and wouldn't be added over the other 4 archetypes. Demon Slayer! With her whip-style sword, she reminds me of Ivy from the Soul Calibur series, and she also has some cool moves on top of it. I think she would be a good add as she is very unique, as no other character in the game have this weapon. Because of her game design and her gameplay, she receives a score of high. Vagabond. She's a sword-wielding character that shoots out multiple projectiles, and she also received a score of high. I believe she could be a hybrid rushdown zoning character, much like Dragon Knight. I would rather have her focus her gameplay more on ground movement with a higher dash speed, much like Konoichi, though I think her having low health would help to balance her out. The Dark Templar. She also received a score of high, and I think she would be a character that would excel at screen control, as her movement set will have special moves that set traps and frustrate the opponent from approaching. Movement for this character would not be great, but her style might be similar to Manat from the Street Fighter series. And our final Slayer type is the Spectre. Now, Spectre is an obvious pure rushdown character. I get the vibes of Trish in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 from the Devil May Cry series, and because of that, she received a score of high. Now, the challenge would be to make her different than some of the rushdown characters already in the game, like Swiftmaster, Striker, and Kunoichi. I don't think her offense should be as oppressive as Swiftmaster or Striker, but make her a simplistic and very direct rushdown character with a bit more range and less execution. Let's punch our way through to the fighter class, which has 2 archetypes to explore. First, the Nin Master, which has both a male and female version, and between the 2, I think the most likely design to be chosen would be the Nin Master of the female type. Visually, this character does look similar to Striker, but she also sports a look like a mix of Chun-Li from Street Fighter and Jam from the Guilty Gear series. I would imagine that the playstyle would be a balanced character, much like Ryu of the Street Fighter series. The Nin Master receives a score of medium. Our second fighter advancement type is the Brawler class, which has both a male and female version. But due to the character design visually being too similar to Striker, I think the male version would have to be the one that gets picked and earns a score of low to medium. Gameplay-wise, the male Brawler looks like they would play similar to the Castlevania character Simon Belmont from the game Super Smash Bros. Due to him utilizing his chain attacks. Next, let's shoot our way to the Gunner class. Now, the female mechanic character design on the right has already been used for the character launcher in-game. This character design is actually the female launcher in DFO. But I believe that there is no chance that the female mechanic actually gets used. But the male version receives a score of medium to high due to his gameplay, his ability to summon mechs to perform attacks, and also to avoid confusion with the character design swaps for the female versions of the launcher and mechanic. On to the Spitfire class. And between the male and female version, I think that the female version has a higher chance to be selected with a score of medium to high, as this could be another character other than Dragon Knight to be able to use flight in-game. The balance would be that much like in her video, she spends most of her time in the air, so much like Sekira in Killer Instinct, I think she should excel in the air but not be too great on the ground. And our last gunner, the Blitz character. I gave them a score of low because it seems like they would be another clone character of Launcher, in that they only have the ability to call in drones and mech vehicles to ride, and not really offer much else. Entering the Guild of the Mage class for male and female, we have 8 advancements to cover. The Elemental Bomber has earned a score of medium to high. If selected, would likely be a zoner. There really isn't much to their gameplay other than the fact that they have a ton of various projectile attacks. And if added, I don't see them playing much differently than the Launcher and how she's currently constructed in-game. Glacial Master. Glacial Master receives a score of high, and could be a more balanced version of the Swift Master as opposed to the Rushdown type. With slower movement speed and attacks that are based on ice, with the possibility of freezing the opponent, they could also be able to restrict free movement much like the Swift Master. Blood Mage is a vampire-like character, and I think is a must-have in the game and a character that I would personally want to see added. I mean, who doesn't love a good vampire in your fighting games? As for gameplay, I'm not sure how close this follows to the online RPG version, but a character that uses their own life source to deal potentially more damage, much like Berserker and Troubleshooter, except make this version be more of a rushdown type character. Dimensional Walker. I have the Dimensional Walker at a score of low. Now visually, Enchantress and this character do look the same, but there are some differences. Dimensional Walker also seems to have a character assisting him with attacks that appears to be some sort of succubus or vampire girl. They could make him different enough to be unique from Enchantress, but I feel that there are better characters to add. The Elementalist. I gave her a score of medium to high, and I think that she would be another zoning character. I'd have her fighting style not have a single physical attack, and even all her normals would be some form of magical attack, because in her character trailer, she only utilizes magic in combat. Summoner. The Summoner I gave a score of low to medium, and I think they would be another puppeteer character in the game, much like Enchantress. If they were going to add another puppeteer character, I think it'd be from another class or advancement type. Battle Mage. I gave the Battle Mage a score of medium to high, and I have to say that I'm not so much a fan of her first Awakening design, mainly because it looks like a very childish elf, but I prefer if they'd used the Neo Awakening or the Second Awakening design. Thus far, every character in the game has used the First Awakening design, so I don't believe that the game would steer away from that. Gameplay wise, I think it would be a cool gimmick since she's able to summon armor or weapons if she was able to do so and temporarily get a buff to either her attack or defensive abilities, much like the Crusader can. The Witch. The Witch would fill the role of the wacky, crazy gameplay character, and originally I gave a score of medium to high, but the more I thought about it, I have to upgrade her to super high. Think of Faust from Guilty Gear. Now the reason why I rated her so high is because the character would have to play super weird. And weird in fighting games is actually kind of fun. Though I have to say that I liked her Second Awakening design a bit better, but I would be okay with the First Awakening design. Next we welcome in the priest class, say oh. The Monk. The Monk got a score of none, and that's basically because visually it looks too much like the Crusader, and gameplay style wise it looks like it would just be a faster version of Striker, and no one wants to see that. Exorcist. With a complete 180 flip from the last character, the Exorcist receives a score of super high. Sporting a look similar to Donovan from the Darkstalker series, he has the badass Demon Hunter vibe going. Also, his gameplay trailer is equally impressive, which is why this is yet another character I personally would want added to the game. Avenger. I gave the Avenger a score of high due to his ability to transform into a beast. And I think that this beast form that you see in his trailer should be the form that he uses while he fights in game. This could add yet another big body character in game, which the game is currently lacking. Transformation could occur during the intro cutscene and have him revert back to normal at his victory scene. Shaman. I gave the Shaman class a score of low to medium. Due to the number of zoners that are already in the game, it's hard to imagine that they add yet another one that doesn't offer anything more than the ones that are already in game. Shaman plays like your typical dungeon crawling mage, basically just using magic attacks from afar. Mistress. A character based off the Mistress class would be sexy and seductive visually, much like Morgan from the Darkstalker series. I gave this character a score of high, based on visuals alone. Though, that's really the only thing to me that stands out. Gameplay wise from the trailer, I didn't see anything that really blew me away, but characters like this sell, so adding her would work. The Thief steals the scene for our next group. Rogue. The Rogue character wasn't quite unique enough from all the other characters in game, and therefore I gave her a score of low. Honestly, the movement in her trailer video was way too fast for me to see actually what the heck was going on, but she does have the potential to get a higher score with further analysis. Necromancer. The Necromancer has the ability to summon multiple characters to help her fight, and I gave her the score of medium-high. I would include a deity to her gameplay much like how Ghostblade functions, but I would choose it to be the heavy-hitting character from her trailer. This could add a big damage character to the game. Shadow Dancer. I gave Shadow Dancer a score of medium to high. Her shadow moving techniques are unique enough to be different from the rest of the cast, though I would imagine her playstyle to be similar to how one would play as Swiftmaster, but they would have more multiple hitting specials than Swiftmaster. Time to pick up your sword and shield with the Night Claws. Elven Knight. The Elven Knight is a nature elemental using character. She does show the ability to hold enemies in place using plants, so possibly could be a trap setting character, but doesn't show enough from her gameplay videos for me to give her more than a score of low to make the roster. Chaos. A character based off the Chaos class, I gave a score of low, mainly because her gameplay showed her heavily using summoned items to attack. Now, she could be used similar to Dragon Knight and Enchantress, but have her rely even more on summoned objects to fight. But I believe that there are better candidates to add. I think her first awakened design is okay, and her second awakening form is probably the best to use in game, as her Neo awakening form might be a bit too risque, especially when seen in action. Damn! Lightbringer. Lightbringer seems to be a highly defensive character that I think could have some unique moves with her shield that I originally gave a score of medium. Now, if they allowed for her to absorb attacks that then could be used against the opponent, that would create a counter character which this game does not have. If that happened, that would raise my score to high for her to be added to the game. The character class that thinks at the tip of the spear. The Demonic Lancer is up next. Skirmisher. The Skirmisher got a score of none, and in my opinion has absolutely no chance to be added due to their gameplay being too close to the Vanguard, with the only difference being their ability to throw spears from the air and to do a dive attack. Dragoon. I upgraded the score of the Dragoon to low, only because they have special lances that he can use. Other than that, he plays much like the Vanguard and the Skirmisher. Now, maybe they can add a special spears as an exhaustible resource, but that's not really how this game works. Instead, I think they would use magic points to summon the spears, and you can utilize them until they are gone. And then you spend magic points again to get them back. Impaler. I gave the Impaler a score of low, because he's basically the Ranger, but with a spear. I saw too many similarities between the special moves of the Ranger and Impaler to be able to include them in this game. Next, we have the Agent class, and I turn to Mr. Johnny Rivers for an introduction. Johnny?
Secret Agent Man, Secret Agent Man.
Secret Agent. Secret Agent's playstyle is too close to the Hitman's playstyle, and I gave him a score of none, because I say there is absolutely no chance for this character to be added to the roster. Specialist. I gave the Specialist a score of low, only because his playstyle is only slightly different than the Troubleshooter. He basically looks like the Troubleshooter if the Troubleshooter were to instead use futuristic weapons and technology instead. Dark Knight. Dark Knight. The Dark Knight is a spin-off class from the Slayer class. I gave this character archetype a score of medium. Now his moveset, as seen in the video, are just unique enough to be able to distinguish him versus other Slayers. But since there are no female Slayer types in the game, I'd imagine one of them would make it in over the Dark Knight. And our final character, Creator. The Creator is a spin-off of the Mage class and receives a score of none, as the visual design really didn't interest me. Gameplay-wise, the Creator performs only area attacks in DFO and looks very similar to the playstyle of the Summoner, which I gave a grade of low to medium. The Summoner receiving a higher score due to her better visual design. And we are finished! 39 character types all down. Now, another way I would like to see DLC would be the possibility of alternate skins. Unfortunately, Arx games have not had a history of adding additional costumes in game. Which of the 39 character types covered would you like to see added into the game? Would you want more content of the game? Once again, all references to this video are in the description below. Please leave a comment below and let us know what you think this game needs. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll catch you donkeys next time.